amongst all this, there are other things, because you see, he loved the Sussex countryside, so it's not surprising we find a corn dolly here. And he loved traditional crafts, yet that went hand in hand with this deep-rooted connection to his surrealist artists. This is a beautiful little, supposed to be a book, but actually it's a box. And in the box we find a seahorse wrapped up in paper. 2 seahorses, in fact. And then on the back of the box we find "To Brother Man" from Elsie, November the 8th, 1936, Jersey City, New York. It was a gift to Man Ray from his sister Elsie in 1936. I mean, how it got here, I have no idea. But thank goodness she wrote that on the back, or we wouldn't have a clue about it.
It's an unusual gift as well, isn't it, from a sister to a brother, really?
From a sister to a brother, but then why from Man Ray to Roland? I don't know. There's so many things I wished I'd asked. This desk always had something slightly threatening about it, because I would be summoned and he would read my reports, and I see they're still here in the desk, and it is so embarrassing going through them.
Were you a good student?
No, I wasn't. Academic work presents certain difficulties and he will have to grapple with them. Oh, crikey. In the metal workshop he comes to life and displays purposefulness and a sense of humour which is entirely admirable. Out in the school at large he fights tooth and nail not to be committed, not to conform. His unpunctuality and scruffiness are proverbial, his hatchet face and stinging retorts the source of much dismay. And his determination not to be emotionally involved with his fellow men is a full stand that leads to tremendous and unnecessary tension inside himself.
Gosh, that's quite a...
It's a bit damning, really, wasn't it? You know, I mean,
yes.
Yeah. That was 1964. Yep. Well, I have to say, I felt it was, in retrospect, a good school. But there was no school that was going to contain me, because I was too much of a rebel. I was too conflicted in my own life here at home. And I think they made the best of a bad job out of me, actually.
And what school was it and where was it?
It was called Bryanston. It was in Dorset.
So were you a boarder?
Oh yeah, definitely. I've been a boarder since the age of 8.
One thing I did notice, slightly different perhaps to the desk downstairs, is that the desk downstairs does have more of a kind of a theatre effect in the middle.
Yes.
Which is lit and so forth. This one seems less of a setup.
Well, there is a certain theatricality about it, and he's put that lovely glass case with beautiful butterflies mounted in it. But you can also see that he's opened the glass case and inserted other things. They're mostly little votives or charms or whatever. And it's kind of like that's making it into a shrine.
Was he superstitious at all, or was Lee?
I don't think either of them were superstitious, but they were respectful of the spiritual force attributed to things by other people. So the ethnographic art has a huge spiritual force in it. Well, most art does anyway. But when they found something like a little votive or something, it wasn't, oh, how quaint or how primitive. It was, okay, this represents a person's belief that owning this object is going to make them better. There was a sort of respect in it, which I think was always rather touching.
You've mentioned before that they weren't particularly sentimental or precious about objects and what they owned, but it's very noticeable here, obviously throughout the museum, that throughout the house, that they have a lot of stuff. Did they ever sort anything out or get rid of stuff, or was that completely not on the cards?
No, they didn't. They didn't sort of have a mass clear out ever, thank goodness, because it means that all kinds of daft little things are still to be found. I mean, for example, here we have a gendarme who's made out of a pack of gitans, and actually he can get overexcited too about things. So So anyway, he's just made out of a cigarette packet from Gitane, and the thing is that it's quite entirely possible that was actually made by Picasso, because Picasso did a lot of little cutouts just for fun. Whether it was or not, we shall never know, because, sad to say, it's not signed or dated or anything else. But you see what I mean? Things were not hierarchical. They were just kept because of their intrinsic value.
And what's in the black box there in the centre?
Well, that's not terribly interesting, except that it represents when Roland's eyesight began to fail. Somebody gave him this gadget, which is the sort of thing that you tie around your head and you can look at stuff, but I don't think it helped very much. It's beautifully made, but you know, when you've got macular degeneration, there's not much that can help in those circumstances.
And is that a Buddha or the sculpture there on the right?
It's a little Indian deity, and what's charming about this one is that she's not finished. You can see she's still a rough casting, but she hasn't been fettled and cleaned up and polished. So how Roland got her, I don't know. But it's a piece of what you might call tourist art, except that there's something more to it because she's unfinished and she's still in her raw state.